Wow! Hello everyone! Hello! Welcome to Padoru season! It is Padoru season! No, it is finally here. It is December. You have made it to December, and lo and behold, the year is ending this month. I know it's a shock, but the year's almost over. We're almost in 2024. Hello everyone! Let me say hello real quick. Hello Raiden, Hosan, slowly passing away, Jane, whose song I really enjoy. On the first day of Christmas, my Chuva gave to me a story of sadness and depression. Duiro, Dragons, Aken, Yamete, Hado, Kitty Mine, Mike, or Elemental, Ice. I think I caught everyone now. Aren't we in 2020? Yeah, but you know, as we usually talk about it and mention it a lot, time is a concept, so like, it's wild, and now you time traveled to almost 2024. So, congratulations. Okay, the plan for today is I'm gonna start off this Padoru season with some reading. I've always kind of wanted to do some reading streams, but I never really got to it. And now it is the time because I wanted to do some readings for the season. I've brought novels today. I've brought Drakengard novels today, in fact. 3 of them that we can read together. I will put them up on screen when we start. I'm still talking a little bit, so people have time to join if they want to. And you don't need any prior knowledge about the games or the series because I will keep you up to date, okay? If there's anything that needs explanation, I will explain it before and or after the story. So you don't need to know anything about Drakengard, okay? Or Nier. Read for me, please. I'm gaming right now. Yes, of course. I'm here to read for you today. Good because I don't? Okay, don't worry about that. I have everything in my book here that we need. And you also don't need to know the characters to enjoy these stories, I think, which is why I picked these 3. There's a lot more novels in the Drakengard universe, but I picked these 3 specifically because I feel like they're very enjoyable to read, even if you don't know anything about the series. And they're kind of origin stories, so if you happen to be intrigued by it and want to look into the series, then this is also kind of a good starting point in some ways. Now read it in German. No. German reading stream. Everyone's listening, no one understands what's going on. Except for like the 2 people in chat who know German as well. Nah. We don't do that today. Otherwise, what can I say? Do you guys have advent calendars? Because I have 2. I usually only have 1. I have like a little penguin hanging on my wall, and my mom bought lotto lottery tickets for me. Each day I can scratch 1 card. That is my advent calendar. And a friend of hers also gifted her one for chocolate, and she doesn't want that, so I got that too. But yeah. What about German learning stream? Maybe next year, yeah. I will not put that in this year. Lottery, still no jackpot. I wish I had the jackpot, but no. Oh, also, if you are a VOD watcher, or if you just want to listen to a story again later, I'm gonna put up timestamps after the stream. And then we will see how it goes. And if you guys enjoy it, I can do another one this month. And if not, well, I need my dose of Drakengard on this channel, okay? You cannot escape. You cannot escape my Drakengard and Nier addiction. I have not played out my my Nier series cards enough yet. Reading club, let's go. Yeah, that is something we could do. Okay, okay. Let me drink something before we start. Oh, also for reference, we have Drakengard music playing in the background. The more ambient tracks from the soundtrack. Is this about the girl with the flower eye? Yes, exactly. This is about Zero. The first one, at least. But yeah, Drakengard 3 is the girl with the flower eye. Okay, okay, okay. Hey, sweet Wooble! And Movict! Nothing says Christmas as much as Drakengard, I guess? Yeah, right? Okay, let me put on the text for you. I brought a document and I also put on dark mode. So no one gets flashbanged today. Sadly, it also inverts the image, but it's fine. It's not that bad. Okay. Drakengard 3 was pretty much just Scott Pilgrim. Oh my god. Okay. We will read the first story and then afterwards we can talk a little bit about it. But before I start reading, this is the part where I explain to you the crucial information that you might need, okay? So, this one doesn't need that much of an explanation because this is like, if you look at the timeline of Drakengard, this is like the very first thing on there. It's the story before the game even starts. And it's funny because Drakengard 3 is, in the terms of timeline, the first game in the series. And this is the pre-story to the protagonist, Zero, whose actual name is not Zero, but this is how she gets to the situation she is in when the game starts, and how she gets her name too, I believe. Zero, protagonist of the game, and you can also see that this is about a flower. You can take that quite literal. We will talk about the flower after the story though. It's not too relevant what the flower is yet. I will explain that afterwards. You keep confusing Drakengard with Drakensang. I don't blame you there. But hey Arlong. I will start now, okay? Get cozy. I hope you have tea with you and maybe some snacks. Let's go. Zero. A rain to end and a flower to begin. Where did this flower come from? Rainy days are never good, I thought, as I stared through the rain pounding down relentlessly around me. I felt the rise of an unexpected laugh. As if sunny days were any better. What is it? A voice next to me asked, weakly. It was so frail that the rain threatened to wash it away. What is what? I replied, and wished I hadn't. People who answered questions with questions disgusted me. I used to make sure they never answered anyone again, every time. I can hear you crying. You're mistaken, that was a laugh. I couldn't blame her. How could she have read my expression? They had taken her side, pried open both her lids, and thrust needles into each eye. And that was not the only torture she had endured. Repeated burns from a branding iron had reduced her palms and the soles of her feet to rotted, reeking flesh, and the joints of all 4 limbs had been ruined to the point where she couldn't even turn in her sleep. I won't stop here and lament that people are willing to do something so brutal to a girl of so few years. I practically expect it from landed lords, or else why would she and her friends have tried to start a revolt in the first place? The damned fools. And it was foolish. They were found before they could even pick up their weapons, let alone revolt. Sold out by one of their own. That's what you get for trusting other people. There's no such thing as a person incapable of betrayal. The 5 masterminds were caught and tortured. I heard they were promised release if they coughed up the details of the plot and the names of those party to it, which was obviously a load of shit. But gullible people can't learn not to be duped. That said, the stubborn ones like her who held out were given the same mangling as the ones who confessed immediately, and all were laid out here, onto the cobblestones of the square. Being clever didn't earn anyone a better outcome. Their lord may not have treated them fairly, but he did treat them equally. If any one thing could be called unequal, it was that 5 fine souls who tried to strike down an oppressive lord were chained up here, next to a common murderer like me. There was no making sense of that one. I wasn't tortured the way they were. I had no grand scheme or friends to give up. Since I had nothing to confess, no one shattered my bones or ripped my fingernails off. All I got was a vicious lashing. The pain, which had felt like flames leaping across my back, was gone now. There was no sensation left. The cold rain must have been nipping at my back, but I felt no chill. Knowing it meant my death was near made it no less strange. What a waste of life. There was no stopping the laughter now. I couldn't remember a single good day, rain or shine. My life had been hell from as far back as I could remember, and undoubtedly from the first moment I came into this world. My earliest memory is of my mother shouting, and the only other thing I remember from those days is being slapped around. I doubt I was fed well either. After all, I learned to swipe a meal before I even learned to speak. If she'd been feeding me properly, I wouldn't have been forced to steal. My mother shouldn't be singled out as a bad person, though. Only a handful of kids were lucky enough to have warm food and a bed. Unless you were born into some fancy noble household, you could kiss any hope of that life like that goodbye. You wondered why the hell you were born, grew up knowing you were a thorn in the world's side, turned into a shitty adult, and then unwittingly wound up with a bun in the oven. That was it for most women. My mother did nothing more than raise me the best way she knew. Once I reached an acceptable age, my mother sold me without a second thought. For a pittance when I thought back on it later. As was the way, I was sold to a brothel, where women who looked a lot like my mother attended to men with tight purse strings. It wasn't all older women. There were girls there my age. I became fast friends with one. She called me Rose, which was how I learned the color of my eyes. "Haven't you ever looked in a mirror?" she asked in surprise when I told her. Of course not. I couldn't have cared less what I looked like. I decided she should be called Indigo. As little as I cared about my own face, I realized her eyes were a pretty color. Rose and Indigo. They were names that belonged only to us. One day, Indigo suggested we steal some money and run away. I nodded, believing that together, the two of us could do anything. I never stopped to think about where we would run or what we would do after. The plan went off brilliantly. We took as much money as we could carry and fled out of town and across the bridge to the far side of the river. There was a man waiting there with a horse. I had seen him before. He was a patron who hung all over Indigo. "If we make it across the river, everything will work out," she had said, and now things were starting to click. I thought for certain they would take me with them. How utterly wrong I was. They had planned to kill me all along. Indigo could only carry so much money by herself. That was why she'd approach me. The only reason. No hard feelings, bros. And then she grinned. It was the same smile as always, but then I knew. Underneath it had been a girl who was figuring out how to kill me. Took me long enough to see it. If the pursuers hadn't come right then, my life would have been over. The other two galloped off in a hurry, and I alone was caught. I never resented Indigo for it. Rather, I was rankled by my own witlessness. Why did I trust another person? Of course it was my fault for being fooled. If things had played out differently, Indigo and that man would be the ones lying dead by the river, and I'd been the one to get away. Next time, I thought, I'd do better. My chance came several months later. I took the gold and got away with ease. I might have even put Indigo to shame. To keep pursuers off my back, I slaughtered everyone. The procurers, their underlings, the women. It wasn't hard. All I had to do was wait until they were sound asleep, then end them one by one. I killed the procurers first. Next, the man they'd hired to do the dirty work. Thanks to the poison I'd thrown into the casks, they were half dead already. Even with my meager strength, it wasn't hard to finish off men who had already ceased moving. Once the men were taken care of, work went fast. Women never smell blood. Torrents of the stuff were flowing right by their side, but not one opened her eyes or let out a scream before expiring. I took as much money as I could carry and left town before dawn. Of course, no pursuers came, but worse news did. Bandits. They captured me handily and gleefully relieved me of every coin I had. And though they spared my life, I again felt the sting of failure. I waited for my chance and escaped before they could sell me back into whoring. This time, thievery was out of the question. I knew I would be better off not trying to carry off their money. Any coin I had would just be stolen. If I needed something, I didn't have to buy it. I could take it. No one could rob me if I had nothing to steal. I did have one thing they wanted, though. Myself. The bandits were ready to sell me, just as my mother had sold me. As a woman, I would always be someone's spoil. But that was beyond my control. I could not discard my womanhood or leave it behind. I suppose I could have made Indigo's choice and found a man to protect me. But people lie. People betray. I didn't want their protection. I would protect myself. Wait. But I did live with a man. Just once. I ran into one of that sleazy brothel's patrons. It was someplace far away in some unfamiliar town. He remembered my face. I remembered his. I have to kill him was my first thought. The procurers and the woman were dead, all of them except for me. He wasn't so witless that he couldn't piece together what that meant. But for whatever reason, I didn't do it. Instead, we found a corner of that unfamiliar town and started a life. He wasn't witless, but neither could you call him honest. He was a thief with a talent for picking locks. Together, we raked in the coin and passed the days with amusement. As a life, it wasn't bad, and thoughts of killing him slipped away. The life didn't last long, though. I got sick. A scourge was going around. Slowly but inexorably, it eroded the body and killed you. Not only that, it was contagious. Fearing for his life, the man left me. I don't blame him. And if it had ended there, I would have let him go. But he was going to sell me out. A bounty had been placed on the brigand who had broken into the brothel. What a fool. I had only just caught the scourge and my symptoms were still mild. I struggled to get up in the morning, got chills in the evening, broke into fits of severe coughing. But that was it. Nothing that would interfere with me taking a life. Thus I had no trouble reversing our fates when he came in my sleep to tie me up. The scourge had turned me into a light sleeper. And either way, I had a certain sensitivity to lethal intent. Before I could think, I had opened his gullet and he died with the confusion still written on his face. It was only then that I realized I'd never really let him into my life. Despite sleeping and eating with him, telling myself I was overkilling him, it wasn't true. Otherwise, I wouldn't have constantly kept my blade hidden within reach. And so, I was alone again. I journeyed aimlessly, filching food and clothes as I went. As I mentioned, the scourge was taking its time with me. So it was well within my ability to travel and plunder and kill. I murdered the owners of my spoils on the spot, women or elderly included. Again and again I would hear, "Take the food and the money, just spare my life, please!" It's strange, everyone makes the same face when death is close. Did I look at Indigo the same way? No. I never begged. Suppose I do spare you. You're certain to hold this against me. You'll come for me one day. I would never let it go, right? I just butchered your mother right in front of you. And unlike mine, this one must have been a good mother, considering she had thrust herself in harm's way to protect her daughters. Anyway, I'd apologize for this, but that would only serve to make myself feel better, and I'm not that deluded. With that, I killed the two trembling sisters while they still clung to each other. No doubt they hated me in those last moments, but they would never come after me with a knife. There were some who didn't beg. One was a girl a few years my junior. Rage flared in her eyes and she laid into me. Why? Why would she do this? Maybe because I'm hungry. How dare you mock me? No one's mocking anyone. I'm starving and don't have the coin for food. And you still think that justifies this? Her father's and brother's bodies lay there in front of her. A bit further away was a woman who appeared to have been their cook. I always dealt with potential threats first, which meant I got stuck with children and elderly last. You could have simply taken our gold and left! Yeah, you know, you're right. I used to think it was about keeping people from seeking vengeance. But I'm starting to wonder if that's really it. Why do I do it? But I had already strangled her before I could finish expressing my reservations. Her eyes were still wide when she took her last breath, still red with anger. I wish I could tell you. I felt her gaze on my back as I took a loaf from the table. I hadn't been lying when I said I was starving. The whole reason I had picked this house was because the family looked rich. And since it was supper time, food would be waiting filled with my belly. I had a good reason, but again I wondered aloud. Why? I took food from the plates with my bare hands and washed it down with a swig from the decanter. My compliments to the chef. Why do I do it? Shouldn't I know after this many? I posed the question to the girl's limp body on the floor. I hadn't been keeping count. I didn't think it mattered. All I knew was that I had killed a lot of people. And yet I couldn't answer one simple question. Why do I do it? Maybe I killed to find out why. The girl's dead eyes continued to glare at me. I guess it wasn't a good enough answer. I continued to live like that for some time. Before I knew it, I had stopped searching for reasons or answers. I robbed people and killed them as easily as I drew breath. The thing is, I entered public awareness around the time my kills reached triple digits. I had done my best to finish off everyone in the homes I breached and leave no evidence. But then again, I hadn't gone out of my way to be secretive, so I suppose I got made at some point. My days became numbered once word got out about the young woman behind the merciless killings of young and old. Descriptions of my appearance circulated and merchants spread word during their travels. Soon every town in every land was searching for the witch with eyes of rose. The bounty for my capture would pay for a life at ease, and proper rewards were promised for even a decent lad. And so I was caught. They surrounded me while the scourge was doing its work on me. By then, the symptoms had started taking their toll, and I was unable to resist, let alone escape. Soldiers in grand armor made an even grander fuss of binding me hand and foot. My gamble that the scourge would kill me first had been wrong, and I was dragged off to the Bastille. They condemned me to the lash. I would be struck once for each life I took. Personally, I think I fought out rather well. They whipped me until my skin was in tatters and my flesh split, but I survived. Then again, if they had gotten my kill count right, I would have died for certain. Their tally came up woefully short, and so my punishment ended well before it could be called capital. Of course, that didn't mean I was forgiven. They chained me up to die in the square, along with the 5 rebels. Directly next to me was the young girl I mentioned earlier. While the others no longer uttered so much as a groan, she continued her own assertion. What we did was right. But her voice was growing ever fainter. When the lot was dragged out here, she was in the most miserable state. I could tell that she was keeping herself alive through sheer power of will alone. I took advantage of her lack of sight and stared her up and down without reservation. Here was more or less my complete opposite, a girl whose sense of justice was hopelessly unswayable. The fact that we stood in this place shoulder to shoulder struck me as strange beyond words. Eventually, she inquired as to who I was. It was my fault for coughing. The Scourge's distinctive and disagreeable bark gave me away as not being one of their friends. "Who are you? What's your name?" "I don't have a name," I answered. "I don't have anything. No coin, no house, no family or friends or lover. Nothing at all." "I give nothing new depths. All I have is this life which is about to blink out along with everyone else." I wound up with 0. Jack shit. Because I did shit away my life. I lived empty day after empty day without purpose. It was so stupid in retrospect that I found myself laughing uncontrollably. "Don't cry," the voice said. "I told you, I'm laughing." I was struggling so hard to breathe that it must have come out as spasms, like any of those next breaths could have been my last. "Really?" "Yes." I heard what might have been a sigh. The rain had finally eased into a drizzle. A moment later, her body convulsed for a few fleeting seconds, and then she stopped moving entirely. "Hey." No answer. "So I guess it will be me." It had been decided the last to survive would be burned alive with the bodies of the other 5. One of the group bit her tongue off when she heard. Another was dead by the time the bunch was dragged out to the square. Another died before the rain came, and a 4th during the downpour, leaving me and the girl. Good luck burning me in this weather. Maybe they would try burning me alive with them instead. At least we can all take solace in the fact that she wasn't the last to go. It wouldn't have been right if the one girl who had shown compassion for others right to the end had to die the worst. But what was right? Who was right? I could hear the girl's voice again. What we did was right, and it was. Only the world could be called wrong. This world full of lords who shit on their people. This world with smug murderers like me. This world where those who stand up on behalf of the weak are crushed like so many worms. This is madness. It doesn't make any sense. Ire filled me all at once. No, it had always been there, and I just hadn't noticed. I hated the world. I had damned it in my mind since before I could remember. I could feel the tremor of a scream in my throat. Glurp. Something warm dribbled from my mouth. It was blood, not a scream. This fucking world is trying to kill me. Fuck that. Fuck the world. Fuck you all. You fucking die. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Then, all of a sudden, I noticed a flower. A rose-colored flower was blossoming right before my eyes, between me and the girl's corpse. Where did it come from? I don't remember seeing a flower there. It swayed beneath the rain's blows. The flower must have been new to me, and yet I recognized it. Maybe because its color is so like my eyes. Or maybe I'm already dead, and this is one of those flowers that's supposed to grow in paradise. No, heaven won't have anything to do with me. I'm dying, and this is a hallucination. But that's alright. I still want to see it up close. I want to touch it. No one has ever given me a flower, and I've never longed for one. But this flower I love. I felt something constricting my sight. I wasn't able to shut my eyes, so I kept gazing at the flower. It was so lovely. My life may have been wasted, but this was not such a terrible final thing to behold. As its widening petals filled my field of vision, I greeted the flower with a quiet smile. And that's the first story. There we go. This was A Rain to End and a Flower to Begin. Zero's novella. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'm glad that you enjoy it. I hope you like the story. To confess, it is a bit, you know, it is quite dark. The Drakengard novels aren't that happy, if you couldn't tell. And maybe a little bit edgy too, but I really like the story. I think Zero is just an unfortunate person in an unfortunate world, and she didn't learn how she could live life besides struggling and killing and stealing. Because, like, yeah, your mother sold you at a young age, what do you do? Big nothing personal kid energy. Yeah, kinda. Let me quickly explain what the flower is. The flower, so in this universe, it's kind of like medieval setting. Is the closest to it, I'd say. So this is also why the circumstances in the story are the way they are. In this universe, there are the humans and there are the gods, who are called the Watchers. The Watchers ultimately want to destroy mankind, and the flower is a tool of the Watchers that has been sent to destroy the world, essentially. And this flower is the flower that appears before Zero, right before she dies, which is also how you end up in the game Drakengard 3, with Zero having the flower in her eye, because she has kind of become a host of this evil tool of destruction. And I'm gonna talk a bit about that later, on how that plays out for her and what that means for her in the third story. But that's the information that's important for now. Also, there's dragons. Dragons are the natural enemy of the flower. Even though the Watchers and the dragons coexist, the dragons try to destroy the flower. There's more? Yes, I brought three stories today, actually. The second one is a bit shorter, but it's of my favorite character. But yeah, I brought 3 novellas. I picked some of them which I thought are easy to enjoy, even if you don't know about the series. Yeah, we're gonna have a good night reading stream. Also, let me check chat again. I know some of you joined along the way, but I couldn't say hello because I didn't want to interrupt the story. When I start a story, I want to go through it in one go, so you can listen to it in its entirety. Okay, first of all, Ken joined. Hey there, Ken. I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. I hope you're doing fine too. Hey, he been, and hey, true neutral. Also, I love how fitting having the Drakengard music as background music is for these novels. If evil, why hot? True, Zero is a very pretty lady. And I really like Zero. And actually this is also why I think after reading the story, it's easier to explain why The Silence Is Mine is my absolute favorite song. I think it will be even easier to explain later, but like, I feel like that song just captures everything that this character has gone through so well. It's like a final lament. Lament mentioned! Hello, RJ as well. Also, yes, 3-digit body count. Just throwing that out there. Oh. 3 more? No, I have 3 in total. Imagine if you said hello during the whole "the world must die" fuck sequence. Yeah, exactly. It's like we're having such an intense moment. If I just say hello now, it's like, Oh, and Bakayasha also joined. I also need to say hello to you still. A bit of edge is fine if when it's done good, it's a cool story. I had a stroke there. Yeah, that's true. I like slight edge in my stories. But it's also just that I like dark stories, honestly. And world building that is quite dark. I don't know. I think the thing about these stories that seem hopeless is like, even though like the world is built in such a way that seems so hopeless, the characters still try to fight through it, and you follow them while they do it. And I think that's motivating in an odd way. That's why I like them so much. Because life is hard. And if someone, like if these characters can make it through even harder lives, it motivates me to keep going in a weird way. I really like dark and hopeless stories where hope can be achieved. Yeah, exactly. That's what makes them so strong, I think. Like, they are in worlds that are so much more horrible than this one sometimes. But they still fight. Character building done the right way. Oh. Okay, should we go to the second story? Let me go there. You like Girls Last Tour? Isn't that the two girls who wander through the post-apocalyptic world? More story! Yeah! Project Moon games really touch on the right balance of grimdark and pure hope. Yeah, that's why I enjoy them a lot as well. Speaking of, Limbus Company next week. We need to get in there. We need to get in there. Did you make this document for yourself? Yeah, these are from the Drakengard wiki. Like they are online there, all the novels, but I prepared this document specifically for stream. So that you can read along and I have it all together. You'll love the new chapter then? I mean, it's Ishmael, so I will love it anyway because she's best girl. But yeah, I'm excited. You know who is best girl in the Drakengard universe though? It's her! I love Accord so much, and before I read, let me explain Accord and weapon stories to you. Accord is a little bit of a weird... How do I say? A weird existence in the Drakengard and Nier universe. Also, she is confirmed to also appear in Nier Automata, even though it's just one single line mentioned in the text. But Accord is an existence, I'd almost say, that is different from others, because, like, she's an android, technically, and there are many of her. But they are not bound by the rules of time. Accord is someone who keeps track of history and different branches of timelines. So, you know, depending on what choice you make at a moment. Let's say you have 3 choices in a moment, and each choice you can make leads to a different timeline, to a different branch in the timeline. So what if you had picked A? That becomes its own timeline. What if you pick B? And so on and so forth. And Accord can jump between all of these and record what happens in these timelines. And her objective is to find a way to save time from the flower. That's like the ultimate goal. And in Drakengard, she also jumps between the branches, and there's so many accords, but one specific accord ends up helping Zero, even though their basis is to not intervene in what happens in a branch. When a branch gets too dangerous and the flower threatens to destroy the timeline, Accord kind of closes it off. There we go. Accord closes it off and abandons the branch. to find another branch where they can maybe save the world. So yeah, she's kind of this android being that transcends time and keeps track of timelines to find a way to save existence. I guess that summarizes it. And then we have weapon stories. The weapons in this universe have stories attached to it, like engraved into their essence, kinda. That includes the stories of the lives of those they were kind of shaped out of. Those who bared the weapons or those who turned into these weapons. I'm not get into how people turn into weapons too much, because like that's something that happens in Near Reincarnation, which is the mobile game, and that's a bit too complicated. But all you need to know kinda is that people's stories are engraved in weapons. And the one time Accord is mentioned in Nier Automata is when a trader says that she actually brought weapons for them to trade. And if you upgrade weapon levels in the games, in any of the series' games, every level you upgrade them, you unlock another part of a weapon story. And then you can kind of read out what this weapon was related to, what they belonged to, or who. Okay, that's all you need to know for this one. Now you know who Accord is, and now you know how weapon stories come to be. And this one is a silly little story from Accord's point of view about weapon stories. Yes, Accord is kind of a timekeeper. Let's go. Accord, the weapon stories. Busy, busy, busy. Really, I'm so busy. I feel like I could just fall over. It's not like I don't already have my hands full with my usual duties of stocking, repairing, and pricing merchandise. To have to refurbish my shop in time for this reopening on top of all of that. Even if I had a whole army of me, it wouldn't be enough. Oh, hello there. My name is Accord, and I'm a weapon seller by trade. Who am I talking to? No, let's not sweat the details. In any case, today I have to inspect the weapons I have in stock, price them appropriately, and put them out on display before I can be ready to open tomorrow. And if the weapon seller Accord isn't selling weapons, why, she'd just be a plain old Accord. Now, let's see. I'm searching for this weapon story. Here it is. You see, weapons with colorful histories often come complete with a weapon story, detailing how they were made and used until now. They can be quite interesting. For example, here's the one of this sword with the serrated edge. The sword rends through both an opponent's weapon and flesh with its jagged blade. If you wield it for too long, your fingers will begin to go numb. And the more blood drawn to it, the wider your body will become until you are left unable to move. Hundreds of years ago, a black-skinned knight used the sword to claim many victories. As time went on, his dark skin changed into a waxy white. Eventually, the knight succeeded in taking the head of an enemy commander in a great battle for the honor of his country. But by then his body had become so light as to be transparent, and no one could see he was there. My, wasn't that scary? I wonder how true it is, though. A sword turning a person invisible doesn't sound very realistic. Ah! My arm! My arm! My left arm! It's vanishing together with the sword! I can't believe it, but apparently the story was 100% fact. This sword is cursed. I have to stop talking long enough to drop it. Excuse me? I got a little flustered. Anyway, it seems the sword is a bit too dangerous to put on sale. If I could just figure out some way to break the curse on it. But that's sure to take time. It could take years even. Well, I can be patient. It's not as if this is my only sword in stock. Moving on. This weapon is strangely shaped, don't you think? A round ring with a handle? That's odd enough, but look, it's covered in spikes. How is one supposed to use this exactly? Just walking around with it seems dangerous. Heaven help anyone near you if you just started swinging it around all willy-nilly. You'd end up hurting both your allies and yourself if you weren't careful. Well, I suppose if you're one of those types who doesn't mind a little pain... let me take a look at its weapon story, Where'd I put it now? Oh, I found it! Once upon a time, there were 3 children who always played together. Oh dear, now that I look more closely, this weapon is covered in bloodstains. As if it weren't foreboding enough already. Chilling, really. And doesn't blood rust the blade? I ought to try and get it off before selling it. I keep it in back until there. I don't think a weapon this creepy would fit in the mood of a store reopening very well anyway. Okay, next. If we're strictly speaking aesthetics, I think spears are the best looking. Now, I'm not saying swords and gauntlets don't look nice either. It's just that spears are so stylish. It's the length that really makes them stand out. Take a look at this one here, for example. The craftsmanship is beautiful enough to make you swoon, isn't it? Its weapon story is pretty dramatic too. Here's a sample. A long time ago, there was a dragon who could not fly. That's how it starts. Doesn't the opening alone make you feel excited? Just holding a spear like this in your hands makes you want to start swinging it around. You know, with a big battle cry. Yeah! Yeah, like that. Huh! Yeah! What have I done? I've gotten the spear stuck deep in the wall. I've got to pull it back out. What a pain. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. There's a crack in the head now. I've got to mend it. That will take time too, won't it? If it were anywhere else that was damaged, I could fix it myself. But when it comes to the artisan spearhead, I have no choice but to enlist the services of a proper blacksmith. Honestly, even though I'm already so busy, here I am, making holes in walls, damaging my own precious merchandise. I'm such a dunce. I'm going to go sit myself down in the corner for a while and reflect on my stupidity. While I'm here, I may as well inspect the rest of the weapons, like the sword. A blacksmith whose entire family had been slaughtered by a terrible ogre. Stop reading! I thought this sounded familiar. It's a weapon story I panned myself. My fan weapon story. How embarrassing. No more of that. Also, this weapon appears to be under a seal. If broken, the ghost of a sorcerer will come tumbling out. Awfully dangerous, that. I'd better apply an additional seal before putting it up for sale. I hope I can manage a decent one. Ah dear, this is going to take time too, isn't it? What's next? A commander longs to affirm his death, changing his feelings into the tears of heaven and earth. His blood flows from darkness into light. The teachings rob old life, yet also grant life as well. That didn't make a lick of sense, did it? What was the person who wrote this thinking? Maybe a weapon story, but it's still a story, so it should be written to be at least semi-understandable, don't you agree? Also, the head of the spear is slightly bent. You wouldn't notice unless you looked very, very closely, but even if it's just a bit, damage is damage. I can't sell it like this. I sent it out for repair, along with the other spear. Speaking of poorly written weapon stories, the one for this next sword takes the cake. Iron, 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 iron. Seriously, what is this? I'd like to see the face of the guy who wrote it. And have him sit in the corner a while himself. That aside, I don't think I can sell this weapon either. I mean, it's broken, but it might be more attractive this way. It's very eye-catching, a real object dart, if you know what I mean. Perhaps it would be alright. No, damaged goods are damaged goods. But on an aesthetic level, then it might be fine to... I can't decide. I put it aside until I can come to a decision. The others once rested, and it's a no-go. That leaves me with... In the end, the only weapon suitable for putting up for sale is this one sword that sorta resembles a cleaver? No matter how I try to look at it, a weapon seller with only one measly sword for sale is kind of a flop, huh? Depending on your point of view, though, perhaps one sword really is enough. In the first place, weapons are expensive. Even if I struggle to put a bunch up for sale at once, it's not likely they get bought together. It might be better business then to have one especially well-made, easy-to-use product available. Quality before quantity, as they say. Also, weapons are tools. They're made to be used. As a weapon seller, even if my entire stock gets bought out, while I'd harshly say no to the gold, it would make me sad if most of them never got to see any action. In the end, I'd be most happy if this one sword got used to the fullest. That is how I honestly feel. Okay, that's the plan then. I have my customer unlock the maximum potential of the sword. And by the time she's finished doing that, the other weapons will be ready to buy. And there may be new ones to boot. Now to put the sword, the Roar of the Condemned, on display, its unusual name and appearance really give it some extra oomph. Now to rustle up a few healing items, and I'm all set. Now then, I must get going. Aside from getting the store ready, I have other various jobs to do. My work is never done. Although it may be a bit strange not to have the owner around on the opening day. It can't be helped. I'm sure it will be alright as long as I leave a note. Probably. Let's see. Dear customer, this shop sells weapons and items. But due to the owner being otherwise occupied... Okay, looks good. Let me go hang this on the door. And there we go. That is Weapon Seller Accord. Weapon Seller and Interdimensional Time Travel Being. Oh! And my favorite character. I love her so much. Oh. Thank you. This was funny. Yeah, Accord is a funny character. I love her because it's such a horrible world, but she's so silly. And when the time calls for it though, she's ready to make hard and impactful decisions despite being such a silly person. And that's where it's like, wow, okay, this girl, she's the best one. This is where she got me. Like the decision to help Zero eventually. It's like, damn. Like, I mean, technically there are many accords and all of them can have different sticks to them. But this is the accord, you know? The one we follow around specifically for a long time, and I really like her. And honestly, I'm waiting for the day where we see more of Accord, because she has only appeared in one of the recent stage plays, I think, for Nier Automata specifically. She was one of these stage plays. And she always brings so much important and like interesting information to the table, and it's like, Accord! When do you get your own game? When do you show up again? Maybe on the next Nier game? Yes, honestly, my biggest wish for if there's another Nier game ever is for Accord to be a main character. I want to follow her so badly. She's like, to me, she's the most interesting character in the series. Because she knows so much, and you don't get to see her much. But also because of her different shifts of personality. Accord store management sim. You know what? I would trust Yokotaro to do something silly like that. Oh, by the way, Nier Automata. Fun fact: the world in Nier Automata is not turning anymore. So it's always day on one side of the planet and night on the other side of the planet. And during Nier Automata, apparently Accord is wandering through the Kingdom of Darkness, I think they call it, or Kingdom of the Night. Something. It's dark over there. But yeah, she's been wandering there. But we never get to see that side in Automata, so we don't know anything. I wish they tried to merge Nier and Drakengard a little bit more. It would be cool, but I feel like it doesn't really work with how they set up the timeline and games. And it would also not do them well to sell new titles. It's already, like, it's surprising and good how they implemented the original Nier into Nier Automata. But yeah, it's a bit hard to place that somewhere, you know? In Nier Automata, the background story from Nier Replicant was only in data logs that you find later in the game. So, like, you get some origin story, but you won't... It's different if you just read the logs, and an entirely different feeling if you've seen what these characters went through and how we ended up in Automata. Because then it goes from sad to fucking heartbreaking. If you know, you cry double. Future DLC? I don't think they're making any more DLCs. But I'm also not sure if they're cooking in the background or not. For all we know, Automata might have been the first comeback game and the last new Nier game. But I have a little bit of hope because they remade Replicant. And they included the ending, the new ending that leads to Automata. So I have hope that they have plans to maybe, you know, bring more of that story into current gen eventually. They could remake Drakengard, yes. And maybe tone down a little bit on the sex jokes. Actually, we'll get to the information about that in a second on the next story. Oh no, this one slipped down. There we go. This will be the third and last story of the day. But we are taking a short break first. Are these stories fan-written or official? These are official. There is, for the Zero story, there's an official and a fan translation. I read the official translation. The Accord story and the One story are fan translations. But they are official stories. Mirror, mirror? Actually, let me turn on the lights because it's horribly dark in here. It's getting as dark in here as the mood in the Drakengard novels. Damn. Though I say Accord was a good shake-up after the Zero story. But yes, also Stretch and Hydrate, now that I've stood up. Stretch and Hydrate is not out just because we're reading. The weather is still stuck on the first novel. Yeah, kinda. You missed an entire story getting flatbread? Oh no! Don't worry about it. I will do timestamps for the VOD if you want to re-listen to it. It's also more lighthearted than the first one. I also still have... I also still have a lot of books on Drakengard and Nier here. I have like the Nier novels here as well, but like as actual book. Though they're probably online as well. Online as in someone surely has shared their views on it. Teehee. But actually, this is really cool. The official voice actors have actually done script reading before of some novel parts. So that was also really amazing. And they voice act properly through all of that. It's really good. It's really cool. Oh no, here's Silence is Mine again. I will talk about the song a bit after the last story again. Because I think then it comes around and then it all makes sense. Partnership with Audible and Nier to make a fully read book. Audible! Hashtag not sponsored, by the way. I don't know if I like Audible. I tried it once, but... listening to books... Like, I love readings, but like listening to entire books in like the classic I'm reading this book for the audiobook style, if you know what I mean. I don't know if I vibe with that. It just makes me want to touch paper, you know? And then I want the actual book. So it's more like advertisement for me to buy the book. I need to read a book again. I have a book that I haven't started yet here, and I wanted to read it for a while. And I have this urge to read again, but also this week has been honestly rather stressful because I've been working a lot, and I didn't really have... Well, I probably could have found like a bit of time in between, but you know how it is. Sometimes you just vegetable between tasks because it's exhausting, and I didn't want to read then. Paper is pretty cool. Yeah, I love paper. Honestly, I also don't really vibe with Kindles and the like and ebooks. I'd only buy ebooks if it's like educational stuff that is too expensive to buy in paper. That's the only time I would buy an ebook. Book lover version of touch grass. Yeah, very much so. Do you like podcasts? If yes, audio is good, but it's completely different from reading yourself. I do like podcasts sometimes, yeah. But the topic needs to be really interesting, and if the people, like if it feels like the people have a lot of knowledge to share, then I do like listen to podcasts occasionally, but not a lot. What I like to listen more to are essays, actually. Sometimes I talked about this before, I think, but sometimes I just watch, quote-unquote watch, I listen to a 5-hour video on a topic that I don't really care about because I just like listening to essays and people being passionate about that one specific thing that they make a 5-hour video about. My uni never got a cent from me for books. I had to buy a law book once for copyright class. That's the only time I had to buy books. The rest was art materials. So I did have to pay stuff, but like, at least I didn't have to buy expensive books. But then I needed to buy a fucking law book. Just general law. And now I have that, but I mean, I guess it can't hurt to have that at home, you know? Ooh. Watched an 8-hour video on Bomberman. Oh my god, that sounds amazing. I want to watch an 8-hour video on Bomberman. You know what? I might even look that up after stream. 8 hours. Essayists are crazy. I want to, maybe I want to try and make an essay one day too, but it's a lot of editing, so it will take time. Good thing all of my subjects were available in library. Oh yeah, I love libraries. Libraries are amazing. I haven't been to my library in a while though, because I still have that one book that I bought myself to read. It's an essay. Yeah. My first essay will be an essay about Drakengard 0. Or a chord, or both. Mrs. Sin will be back. All the Bomberman games, anime, manga, fan theories. Oh my god, that's so cool though. I used to play a lot of Bomberman. You would watch that on repeat? Well, I'm happy to hear that. I will see what I can cook next year. But this year I've been cooking a lot of music. A lot of music. And my super secret project that... I mean, it definitely won't be out this month. We still need art. So like, probably... Let me take a guess. February or March, probably. So it will take a little bit still. Yeah, it's already December. It's December 1st. The year is ending. Christmas is 23 days away. Or 24, depending on where you live. Valentine? Oh, that would be cool to post on Valentine. You watched a 2-hour video essay on Roblox. Amazing. But yeah, there's stuff coming. It's just, it takes a lot of time. It takes so much time. I wish I could post everything like once my part is done, but that's not how things work. I also hope, I also wish often that my work would just finish itself, but that's also not how it works. Oh. Yeah, if it's launched in March, it could be an anniversary gift. And birthday gift? Do you have birthday in March? Then I guess also a birthday gift. But also, my 1-year anniversary is in March, yeah. March 18th. March 18th. We all hope work can do itself. It's like, not even all work, right? Just part of my work. That would be amazing. Like, do the last step by your own. Thank you. Okay. We came out of the high note song. Should we proceed to the final story? I think it is time to get back into reading. The final story for today. Let me explain what you need to know before we go into this. I'd like to explain to you Zero's motive and dragons and disciples. So, at the end of the first story we read today, the flower approached Zero, and I already explained that Zero becomes a host for the flower. And eventually, if she keeps being the host, the flower will bloom and destroy the world with the Song of Destruction. A song because the flower turns her into an intoner who can use the power of song. Usually to fight, but in this case, it's waiting to start the song that would destroy the world. So, Zero, despite all her hardships and everything she went through, she still can't let go of this world. And her goal is to essentially end herself so that she can destroy the flower. And the first attempt she takes at that is just by, you know, classic old committing unalive with a knife. And it doesn't work. The flower that has already like taken shape in her, it's taking control of the situation, and instead of her dying from that attempt, the flower splits her being into 5 more beings. So that's how her sisters come to be. There's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And Zero's ultimate goal, her motive, is to kill her sisters in Drakengard 3. Which you first don't learn why she wants to do that. It's just, oh, I need to kill my sisters all the time. But essentially, she's trying to save the world by killing her sisters because she has to, because they are part of her that split from the flower. So her mission is to fight them and kill them one by one. And that's why she's getting a dragon for help. Michael, who dies in their first fight and gets reborn as Mikhail. And as I told you before, the dragons are the natural enemy of the flower, and also the only source of power that can actively kill the flower. So Zero couldn't kill herself, right? She couldn't do it herself, but if a dragon were to end her, that would work, because the dragon power can destroy the flower. So her goal is basically get rid of the sisters that are essentially just parts of the flower, and then get rid of herself so that the world doesn't get destroyed by the song. And every single sister that split off of her from the flower, when they were created, they got a disciple to watch them. So a disciple just follows them around, takes care of their needs, takes care of them. Make sure that they don't lose their shit, essentially, their mind, too early. And every one of them got a disciple, except for one. One didn't have a disciple, and she was wondering why. And I think it is explained in the story as well. So I won't talk more about it. Maybe I'll talk about it afterwards if it's not mentioned. I can't exactly remember. But this is about one and her. Well, you can't really call them disciple. It's a different case for her because she didn't get one. So let's go. 1. Mirror, mirror. I had to be there, but I couldn't stay. I had to come back here, but I couldn't remain. All for the sister who watched over me. I had to be here. My room is located in a tower in the cathedral. It's small, with only a few things in it. My bed, a little chair, the iron door, stone walls, and a single window located so far up I can't see the sky from it. Yet it was my entire world. Only my sister knew of me and my room. I've never spoken with anyone other than her and her dragon, Gabriella. And Gabriella mostly spoke only to sister, not to me. She had a rough way of speaking and could be mean to me. But I didn't hate her, because sister really seemed to love her. Sometimes sister would take me out on Gabriella's back and we'd fly through the sky together. We'd travel to battlefields. The world was still all messed up back then and sister had lots of enemies to fight. I'd help her. I'm not sure how long we were fighting for, but it was also to help me get stronger. I had to be strong to defeat Zero. If sister lost to Zero, then it was my job to kill her. Don't worry, you're my brother. You can do it. Sister probably said that to reassure me, but she didn't realize I'd figured out something important. If I had to kill Zero, that would mean sister had already been killed by her. I didn't want that. I didn't want sister to die. If sister went away, who'd visit me? Who'd talk to me? If sister went away, The reason I was frowning wasn't because I was scared to fight. It was because I never wanted to have to use the sword made of dragon fang that sister gave to me. I didn't want the day where I'd have to leave my room to ever come. I wanted sister to keep visiting me there, like she'd always done, holding me gently in her arms each time, forever and ever. That was my only wish, but I couldn't stay. Because the day did come. I knew it was the day my sister was going to fight Zero to the death, when she came to see me with a strained expression. It's okay. I just do as you taught me, sister. Sister looked surprised when I said this, since she hadn't said anything herself yet. But I could understand her without the use of words. I'm not as smart as her, so I can't understand things that are too difficult. But I could always tell what she was feeling. Whether she was happy or sad or mad, I could tell just by looking. I'm her twin, after all. Of course I'd be able to. Of course I'd know that even if she beat Zero, I'd never see her again. Because she was planning to die either way. I knew, so just that once I tried to stop her. I threw a tantrum, sobbing and begging her not to go. It's alright, I won't lose. Sister looked troubled. I hadn't meant to trouble her. I just wanted her to understand that I knew we wouldn't be seeing each other again. That this was our last meeting. I wanted her to know that I understood everything, and not to worry, sister. I understood so much more than you realized. Sister was killed by Zero, and I killed Zero just as I was instructed to. Now all the intoners had been slain. But sister, you didn't tell me what I should do after that. You didn't tell me what I should do or where I should go. My head was so full with how you were going to die and how I had to kill Zero that I didn't think to ask. I regretted that now, but it was too late. Sister was dead, so she couldn't tell me. What caught my eye as I stood amongst their corpses was one of the stained glass windows in the room we were in. It had been cracked, but it still shone beautifully in the light. It gave me an idea. I'd start a new religion in my sister's name. I'd recreate this church as a place of worship for her. I couldn't think of anything better than that. For my sister, I tried leaving for her. But the world outside was too big, too scary, and without her, too lonely for me by myself. So I ran back there, to my room, where I'd be safe, where I didn't have to do anything at all. I had to come back here. No one knows about this room. As her trump card, sister couldn't have anyone knowing about me. She probably didn't even tell her other sisters. She cast a spell on the door so it couldn't be seen from the outside to make sure no one accidentally opened it. It wasn't locked, you see. Sister wasn't keeping me prisoner, but I never thought to leave on my own. I never wanted to. I'd only go out if sister was taking me somewhere. But she won't be taking me anywhere anymore. So the first thing I did when I came back was to make it so the door would never open again. I destroyed it from the inside so I'd never have to go back outside. There's nothing for me out there. I may have been able to help my sister, but I can't do anything on my own aside from killing Zero. Reading the books she'd given me, practicing my sword work. That's how I used to pass the time in my room between sister's visits. But she'll never come to visit me again. I never see her ever again. No, I want to see her. I want to see my sister. I want to see her. I want to see her. I want to see her. That's it. I can't really see her again, but I can see her in a way. Since I was made from her, we look the same. We have the same face. So I put on some of her clothes and stand in front of the mirror. Then, just as I thought, we're mirror images of each other. It's as if sister is really standing before me. I wanted to see you too, said my sister from the mirror. But even though she was right in front of me now, even though it seemed as if I could touch her, all my fingertips felt was the cold glass of the mirror. She's there, just beyond it. Why can't I step through myself? Why do I have to stay here on the other side of the looking glass? Why do I have to be all alone? Why did my sister leave me behind? No, she hadn't meant to. I bet she meant to take me with her. Sister had to kill Zero, and she had to die right after, since intoners harbor the flower that will destroy the world if left to take seed in their bodies. Sister wanted to destroy the flower for good, but the flower will try to preserve itself. That's where Zero made a mistake. So that she wouldn't fail in the same way, Sister came up with a plan to make sure that regardless of who survived their battle, the flower would be wiped out. I was the plan. In this room, Sister would have me practice killing Zero. She drew the shape of a person on the wall and crossed an X over where her heart should be, so I wouldn't miss when the time came. So I'd be able to take Zero out with just one thrust. Soon a hole opened up in the wall where the X had been, so it was like I was actually stabbing through someone. I'd stab the hole over and over, swiftly, precisely, again and again until Sister told me to stop. But I wasn't training just to kill Zero, was I? I was practicing to kill you, too. If you'd survived, if the flower had somehow kept you alive, you'd stand behind the wall and have me step right through the hole like I always did. And you'd die. If I had to kill you myself, I couldn't keep on living. I'd have killed myself right after. Since I was made from you, the power of the flower isn't as strong in me, and I'd probably die easily. And once I had, all traces of the flower would be eliminated from this world. That's right. Sister had never intended to leave me alone. She trusted that I'd follow her after her. After all, I'd had the one weapon capable of killing intoners. I'm not a true intoner, but a normal sword couldn't kill me. I know because I tried using one on myself as soon as I'd come back to my room. I'd forgotten the sword made of Dragon Fang back where I'd killed Zero. I'm so stupid. I went and destroyed the door, so I can't go back for it. I can't leave. I have to stay here, in this safe room. I made a mistake. Everything is my fault. Sister, please scold me. Tell me what a bad brother I am. I am bad. So why won't you scold me? The sister reflected in the mirror was silent, regarding me with sorrowful eyes, as if about to cry. I know that expression. I'd seen it before. It was the same face she made whenever she was in bed with me. I never understood why she looked so pained while what we were doing made me feel so good. When I asked, she told me it was because it was wrong. That siblings shouldn't be doing what we were together. Without even knowing that, she couldn't stop herself. Her voice was so sad. I didn't understand. If it's wrong for siblings to do it together, then does that mean it's okay for strangers too? That seems much worse to me. When I told her that, she looked at a loss for words for a moment before making such a gentle expression, made my heart skip a beat. Yes, then it's alright if it's with you. Sister, your face right now looks just like it did then. Really? Yes, you're even furrowing your eyebrows a bit. That's a habit of yours, did you realize? No, I didn't. I didn't think so. I didn't want to tell you. Why not? That's just the same too. The way you tilt your head when asking me a question. I memorized all your expressions and tics. I wanted to keep them all to myself. I noticed things about you even you didn't. And not just on your face either. The way your body moves, the tone of voice you'd use, even the way you'd breathe. I loved them all. I can't stand this. Feeling agitated, I shook my head from side to side the way I would when throwing a tantrum. It looks cute when you do it, sister. No one but me will ever see that. Now you belong just to me. Yeah, that's the face. So I can see you whenever I want. It's easy since we're twins. Can't believe I didn't realize it sooner. I won't go anywhere. That's right, you promised. I remember the night I woke up crying after having a nightmare. Sister, you were up. I guess you were probably trying to leave while I was still sleeping, but when you saw me upset, you stayed with me until dawn, holding my hand and comforting me. I'm here with you. Really? You won't go anywhere? You'll stay with me? Yes, always. I don't have the weapon that could kill me anymore. I can't die, so neither can you. I didn't make a mistake after all. I lived and so will you, and all I want is for you to live. I don't care if everyone else in the world has to die. Is that wrong? Does that make me bad? Of course not. You're a good little brother. Sister, listen. I'm going to make a new religion just for you. For you and Gabriella too. I remember how you loved her. Not just her, Gabrielle too. I loved her even after she reincarnated. That's right, so I create a church that will venerate all three of you. Tell me more. Sure, see, thanks to Zero, the capital got all messed up, right? But I'm going to build everything back up again from scratch. Then I'll instate this new religion and gather followers. Oh yeah, and I should come up with a symbol for it. One that represents us. How about this? This might work. You think so too? The image of sister and I pressing our cheeks together, as if we've become one, as if we're reflecting one another. It almost looks like we only have 3 eyes between us. You're right. Really, I want to become even more as one. I want the division between us to collapse and for us to melt together. So that we'll never have to be parted again. I don't care if we can never go back to being separate. I want us to be one, but I couldn't remain. This room that no one knew about got discovered. Destroying the door broke Sister's spell, and so it and the hole in the wall were found. Lady One! To think you were here all along! Strangers broke down the wall and stood before me. I suppose they were the clergy of the church. We're so glad you're safe! Every one of them had tears in their eyes, so I answered like this. I'm sorry to have worried you all. Everything is all right now. My wounds have all healed. My sister, my brother, is always with me. We are one. Shall we go? Now she, he, and I will go outside together. I plan to build the church anew. Lady One? Now the 2 of us shall become the harbingers of a new faith, to honor the Watchers. I'm certain many will gather to venerate the intoners and the angels they called forth, all for the sister who watched over me. And that's one story. Yay. A little bit wild. Let me explain a little bit more that might be missing here. I think it explained a little bit in there well, but as I mentioned before, One was the only one not to get a disciple. So what she did was she made an image of herself. I think she broke out one of her ribs and made a disciple herself from that. And that became quote-unquote brother. Because a brother, well, as the opposite of her, broken from her rib, turned out to be a guy. And essentially, 0 and 1, despite fighting each other, essentially they had the same goal. Also, this is the closest ending, and this one actually happens in the game. This one is ending A in the game. Though you don't get that extra text, you just have brother 1 kill 0 and then it ends. You don't see what happens after because he has that blade made of dragon fang. There's another novel, I believe, which is the actual connection to the next Drakengard, but I like to refer to this one because it's easier to, I think it's easier to follow and it's more straightforward than searching for the alternate version. But yeah, this one is essentially the canon ending. This is kind of the canon ending that leads to Drakengard 1. The intoners die, but the Church of the Watchers is created. And the host for the Watchers in Drakengard 1 happens to look like 1 as well. So it comes full circle. This is Adam and Eve all over again. Interestingly enough, it's been said that Adam and Eve have been mistranslated. Eve isn't made from a rib, but from Adam being split in half to create Eve. Yeah, that makes more sense. But yeah, it's kind of like that, right? In Nier Automata, Adam and Eve are a thing. They're split and created from each other, and it kind of mirrors, haha, mirror mirror, it mirrors what 1 has done with brother 1. Kind of splitting herself to create a disciple. Also about that kind of weird part in the story, as I mentioned earlier, disciples are there to take care of the needs of the intoners, and that's also where the sassy jokes and the massive amount of sassy jokes in the game stem from, because 0, as we've seen in the first story, coming from an origin of prostitution, her and all the sisters have their disciples to take care of that need as well. But in this situation, it's a little bit awkward because essentially it's her rib bone who's also called a brother. But don't, you know, it's a little weird, but don't take the wording here too literal, I guess, because it's a complicated situation to say it like that. Spare ribs. Oh god, oh no. Reverse Tomari. Kinda. She is 1 and becomes 2. But yeah. This was 1's story. I believe 1 actually has 2 novels, and the other one is about how the sisters live, and then 1 wondering why she doesn't have a disciple. I think I actually thought that it's that story, but this one wasn't bad to read either. I guess you can say they both. Oh my god. No! Discard! Evil! Bad! But yeah, I'd be entirely honest with you, I forgot about this part. I forgot that this part is in the story, and while I was reading, I almost slipped and was like, what the fuck? But then I'm like, keep a straight face and keep reading. Just pretend this is nothing unusual. See what you've done. with that joke. Shame! Shame! But yeah, I just kept reading. I just pretended nothing happened. So, now that we're through the stories, actually, let me make a poll for this, so if people are lurking, they can also vote. Also depends on whether you've heard all of them, definitely. But let me make a poll on which story you like the most. I'm interested. Democracy! Here we go. Which one was your favorite novel out of these? We have Zero, we have Accord with the weapon stories, and we have one with the canon ending to Drakengard 3. Easy, you like light-hearted stories? Understandable. Dun, 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 dun. What's your word per minute? You sound like you type fast. Oh right, I have that noise going on, right? I don't remember. But I am a fast typer. That's what I can tell you. Oh. Oh, wow. I'm surprised at how relatively even that is. Everyone, you can vote. What was your favorite story to listen to? Which one did you enjoy the most, or which one was the most interesting to you? It's a rather tough choice. Yeah, all of them are. I think most of the novels for Drakengard are super interesting. One is taking the spot. Okay, you can still vote for a few seconds. I'm actually surprised about that one. A lot of you liked one, huh? I think one story is very intriguing, though, with the whole making a religion and, you know, essentially Brother One also fucked over everyone because the flower survived that way and is still a threat in this timeline. Hey, John! One is a really interesting story, yeah. I love the results on this one. It's like there was something for everyone. Okay, closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. 0, you could say. There we go. And the winner is 1, actually, with 42%. 0 is second, close with 35. And then comes Accord with 21. Nice! So there was something for every mood, I guess. The first one was a bit more... Well, the first one was more melancholic and a bit edgy, I'd say. Accord was a good way to brighten the mood, and then 1 is rather intriguing, if I had to describe the moods. Oh yeah. So this is the canon ending for Drakengard 3, right? Which leads into the next games. But like the final ending of the game, ending E, I think it is. In that ending, 0 actually manages to kill 1 with the help of Accord. Because Accord wants to at least see one timeline where the flower is destroyed, so she sacrifices herself to help 0, and 0 kills 1. And then Mikhail, her dragon friend, has to the Song of Destruction actually starts at the end of that battle, and that is the final boss. You play as Mikhail and you fight against the Queen of Destruction, singing the song to end the world, and eventually beat Zero. And then in that timeline, the flower is actually gone for good, and Mikhail stays behind. And that's also the timeline, the ending, where This Silence Is Mine starts playing as ending song. Because she finally has the ending that she wished for. After going through all that, after having a miserable life, after creating her sisters on accident and still trying to correct her mistakes to save the world that she can't really hate, even though she says it. Because the world is still beautiful to her, she gets the ending she wants. And that's when The Silence Is Mine starts playing. And if that ain't insane, then I don't know what is. Then I don't know what is. That's why I love the song so much. It's like, it's such a good... It makes me feel all the things I feel when I look at the story, basically. It's a good summary of the emotion behind it, even though the lyrics don't necessarily make sense. But what does? Drakengard stream? Oh god. Oh god. Let me say this. The story and the timeline of Drakengard and Nier is so intriguing and amazing and like lore heavy. But it's not a good time to play the game. Drakengard 1, 2, and 3. Well, let's ignore 2 because it's technically not... The canonality of that game is questionable because it was not made by Yoko Taro. So, like, let's say Drakengard 1 and 3 are very tedious to play through. Drakengard 1 we don't even need to talk about. Like, fuck that game when you want to play it, honestly. And then Drakengard 3 is just a lot of... It's very empty and repetitive, let's say it like that. So if you're there, you're definitely not there for the gameplay, let's say it like that. You play these games because you're so into learning about the lore, if anything. And that changed though, that changed with Nier Automata. Nier Automata is genuinely one of my favorite games because it has this intriguing part of the lore of Nier and Drakengard, but also plays well. It is fun to play. Just like Limbus Company. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you don't like the combat there, then kinda like that, yeah. The Drakengard games were from a long time ago. Yes, they are very old and you can tell. They also had barely any budget. Which is why I'm so surprised that Nier Automata became a thing, because all of these games were financially seen a flop. And they were not exactly great games. Definitely not in its gameplay aspect. They were not good games, no. So it's even more surprising that Automata saw the light of day, eventually. And I hope it has paved the way for more games. Nier Replicant Remake came out after that, and that is a lot nicer to play than the original, so that is very playable now. However, there has never been a remake of any Drakengard game. And I don't know if they would do that. The thing with Drakengard is, unless you cut down on some of the topics that are discussed in these games, I don't believe you could even, like, they would probably not even be allowed to put that on the market the way it was back then, nowadays. There's really fucked up stuff in Drakengard 1. There's like a woman eating children, there's a priest being into said children, and so on and so forth. It's really... It's crazy, man. You would have to heavily edit the characters and the story. Well, story you could keep intact mostly, probably, but like the characters, you would definitely have to rewrite some of that. Otherwise, you can't put that on the market nowadays. You will be eaten alive if you did. Original Nier Replicant and Gestalt sold very terribly, yes. They were all, in terms of income, they were all failures. Not to start a long discussion on the current gaming industry, but nowadays I think there's a case of too much budget, money and memory-wise, for some games. That's interesting. I don't know if there can be too much money. Probably. You know, the thing about creating things is that you're probably more creative if you have more restrictions, because then you have to think about it, right? You can't just throw it at everything you have. I'd say nowadays the issue is studios have a lot of money and they don't give their devs enough time and don't invest that money correctly. Like, if they want the game to be made faster, hire enough people to do it in the time frame. But what a lot of studios are doing, they keep the same amount of people and they decrease the time that said people have to finish a game. And with how far graphics and systems have come nowadays and how long it takes to finish them, that's not feasible. And people have horrible working conditions because of that, and in the end you get a buggy, terrible mess that needs 2 years to be patched until you can play it. And that's why indie games, I feel like it's the era of indie games, because indie games are everything, like they put everything out of the way that's an issue with big titles. You have the restrictions of being a small team or a person often to think outside of the box and to do new stuff and to use the resources that you have been given and then decide how you use them. Are there people who use them wrongly? Definitely! Yes? But then either their game will be trash or their game just doesn't see the light of day. And those who do it right, which is surprisingly still a lot of developers who start a thing out of passion, that's where you have the good indie games. I mean, look at No Man's Sky. Hasn't that game become like really good according to people? But it was terrible at the start. Now imagine if the game came out a few years later and had all that stuff it has in now already. That would have helped the game, I think. It was terrible on release, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Then again, you need to check your resources. The issue with a lot of studios is also, let's say not AAA maybe, but like AA studios. They really have to take a look on their money. And if the money runs out, they need to push the game out, or else they go bankrupt along the way. So that's also a hard thing. Sometimes you have AA games which are very buggy or a bit unfinished because they need the money now, or else they would never ever finish the game. So it always depends on where it comes from and how they manage the resources. But the general consensus on how that's handled at the moment, I think, is not good. What I like to take as an example is the Pokemon games, probably. I think that's like one of the biggest examples of resources not being handled well. They just want to pump out a game every other year. But yeah, that is my gaming ramble. No Man's Sky went through a bit of a redemption arc. Yeah, I hear good things about it now. But not a lot of things, you know? I think a lot of people who have abandoned it would probably enjoy it now, but like they're not interested in checking it out again because they were so disappointed. Apparently resource management feels like a rare thing to come by for studios these days. Yeah. Yeah. Pokemon, it's insane how little support they give to the community. Yeah, it's really weird. Also because system-wise their new games are fun and they're a step forward, but everything else is a step backward. So it's odd. Thank you for the lullaby. Good night, everyone. Thank you for being here today, Hosan. Good night and sleep well. I will also take that opportunity and say that it's time to slowly wrap up, though. How did you guys like today's stream? Would you like to have more of that for Christmas season? Do you think we should do some more? Or do you say, want to get into the Christmas season is good, but maybe we don't need more? You honestly vibe with this, definitely? I'm happy to hear that. I do like reading. I just need to see what I can read next. It's comfy? Yeah, that's what I hope for with these. These are really just comfy. Was quite fun to listen to in the background. Drakengard December. Let's go! Yeah, I will rest my voice. Like, this is a lot more taxing on my voice than regular streams. But I'll be fine. I think that was the right amount of stories to read. I wouldn't read more, but this was fine. Okay. Well, if you guys liked it that much, then yeah, we can keep going with these. This will be our December thing, okay? We will do a reading stream. I will see if I do one each week or if I take a week break and then do another one. Drink your voice potion. Yeah, I will. And then I'll check what I can find in terms of material. I only pick interesting stuff. I try to find the most interesting stuff. And I kind of already have an idea that I think you will enjoy. But yeah, thank you everyone. What a perfect song to end on, holy shit. Thank you everyone for joining me today. Thank you for listening. I hope you had fun with the stories. I will put up timestamps if you want to check out one of the stories again. Otherwise, all these stories are available on the Drakengard wiki. So if you want to read more of them or want to reread one yourself, you can just enter that in Google, Drakengard novel, and it will immediately give you all the novels that are out there. But yeah, everyone, have a good morning, day, or night wherever you are. And we see each other again next week. Goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye. The silence is mine. Wow.